Good afternoon from Singapore, and hello, big hello to everyone as well who might be dialing in from other places at the globe. Thank you and welcome to today's session where we'll be talking about developing enterprise solutions with 5G. My name is Wei Min from SGInnovate, and for those who may know, SGInnovate is a government-backed deep tech investor and company builder whose mission is to help entrepreneurial scientists build deep tech startups that are looking to solve big global problems. Our work also involves building a global community of leaders, thinkers, and doers to drive and scale deep tech innovations in areas such as AI, healthcare, quantum tech, and autonomous technology across various industries. For today's session, we are very happy to have partnered with Singtel Future Innovation Center in sharing more about developing 5G enterprise solutions in Singapore. I believe the term 5G is no longer an alien term among Singaporeans today. However, the business value, potential, and benefits of 5G is still a concept that is not quite fully understood by many. Today, we hope to share more on the various use cases across verticals so that you can also be a part of the 5G ecosystem in Singapore. If you are a startup looking to expand your technological capabilities, be sure to stay to the end for a dialogue and Q&A segment with our speakers to address any questions you may have, and hopefully soon you will be en route to the new frontier of technology and be able to have breakthroughs in innovation and discover new use cases for 5G. We encourage for all attendees to share with us your thoughts on the topic or interact with our speakers by posting your questions in the Q&A tab located at the bottom panel of your screen. Otherwise, feel free to just say hi and do a quick shout out from where you are in the chat box below. With no further ado, do allow me to invite Ms. Connie Ang, Director, Innovation and Strategic Partnerships and Center Director of FutureNow Innovation Center to start up today's event. Connie, please.
Thank you so much, Wei Ming. Hi, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to this virtual 5G engagement session that is jointly organized by SGInnovate and Singtel FutureNow Innovation Center. Very happy to have all of you join us for this session, and I look forward, to a great session together with all of you. With me in the call are my colleagues from Singtel. So I have members from my team, Candice and Noel. Wave, say hi. All right, so both Candice and Noel work very closely with me to design and to curate the content for customer engagement at the FutureNow Innovation Center. And they also do customer engagement, closely with me. I also have George, who is our technology lead. George oversees the IT infrastructure. He's the guy behind all the magic, that we showcase through the demos. So very happy that my team is here with me today to support me for this session. I also have Mark, who is from our 5G team. So Mark is the director who oversees 5G business planning as well as partnership. Right. So Mark, very happy to have you join us.
Hi,
all
everybody.
right. Yeah, so without further ado, let me just run through the agenda very quickly. All right, I will take about 10 minutes or so to give a quick overview of Singtel, as well as introduce our FutureNow Innovation Center. Then that brings me very nicely to the highlight for this afternoon session, which is really on 5G, where we'll be doing a live streaming of our 5G Bay presentation, right from the FutureNow Innovation Center. So I'll be covering some of the key capabilities of 5G, the differences between our current network 4G vis-a-vis 5G, as well as some of the very exciting 5G use cases and possibilities. Then we'll hand the time over to Mark, who will then share some of the key focus areas that Singtel is paying attention to, some of the 5G use case trials that we're doing with our enterprise customers, as well as our 5G partnership ecosystem. And like what Wei Ming said, we will end off the session with a 20 minutes Q&A. All right. So the FutureNow Innovation Center is a thought leadership center where we actively engage our customers and partners, help them discover how various exciting technologies can help to reimagine their business model. So to date, we have hosted around 3,500 customers, mostly C-suite, senior management from corporates, technology leaders from various tech companies, as well as government officials, from the various government agencies. So this is really our state-of-art technology center. Next slide, where we showcase our advanced and in-flight technologies across the entire Singtel group. So in addition to showcasing our tech capabilities, we also take quite a bit of time, to really engage our customers, to carry out ideation as well as co-creation with them. So we do take time to understand some of their business pain points, some of their business challenges, and then together with them, identify the most ideal, tech solution to help them achieve their business outcomes and business aspiration. So Singtel, as a trusted advisor in the tech space, in the tech space, this is really what we seek to do, to leverage our technological capabilities to support our enterprise customers, in their transformation journey. The next slide shows some of the key technology areas that we are focusing on. So telco is in our DNA after all. Definitely 5G, we're investing heavily into 5G. We believe that 5G with its ultra high bandwidth and super low latency will power up the future of enterprises. And 5G will enable massive connectivity as well. That is the reason why we say that 5G will propel IoT, the Internet of Things, right? And moving forward, anything and everything that can be connected will be connected. Robotics is another area that we look at. Robotics will impact automation, and that is going to change the way we think about future work. Because if you think about it, embedded systems, digital twin of a smart factory, industrial cobots, all that will lend a lot of flexibility and autonomy to not just the infrastructure of your factory set up, but also change the way we carry out factory operations, change the way we work, moving our knowledge workers up the value chain of work so that they can take on more creative, more meaningful, and more challenging tasks. Augmented and virtual reality, AR and VR, these are very exciting emerging technologies. We see them as the encapsulation of the convergence between what is possible with the end device and the network. If you think about it, some years back when Google first launched their Google AR glasses, it was such a brilliant innovation, but it didn't quite take off. Why was that so? I think a key reason is because, it was just 3G, and there was no way 3G could support a brilliant innovation like this. With 5G coming on board, we definitely see technologies like AR and VR becoming successful realities. Data analytics is another big area, that we have lots of capabilities in, and there are 3 buckets. I just want to run through them very quickly. Being a telco, we have lots of telco data, and we're able to derive a lot of good insights, from the telco data that we have to basically understand and determine movements of large group of people. So that gives us a lot of geo-mobility insights. We are also very big into the space of video analytics that gives us a lot of good information as to what people are doing within a space. We also have a digital marketing company, which is called Amobi. Amobi is backed by a very strong brand intelligence tool, and that gives us a lot of brand intelligence analytics. So we always tell customers that we are in a very sweet spot, when it comes to analytics. We know where people are moving to, we know what people are doing within a space, and we know what people are thinking about us. AI is such a big buzzword. It can refer to something as straightforward as chatbot, natural language processor. It can also refer to something more sophisticated like your mathematical optimization, your search heuristics, your deep machine learning. What Singtel does is, even as we roll out some of these solutions to our customers, we do ensure, that there is that layer of AI. Because if you think about it, technologies like IoT will bring about that vast oceans of data. And there's no way the human brain, can make, good sense of that vast amounts of data. So we're leveraging AI to do a lot of that. Blockchain, we all know that there is a distributed ledger that is used to store and secure transactional information. Blockchain, it can be used for data hashing as well, more and more emerging use cases. So this is an area that Singtel and NCS are also looking into. But the key point that I really want to highlight on this slide is this. We believe that all these technologies need to take place in an environment where cybersecurity plays a very key role. And I'm very happy to share that Singtel owns one of the largest cybersecurity practices globally. And even as we support, our enterprise customers in their transformation effort, we do ensure that the digital solutions that we roll out are secure by design. Moving along, let me give you a very quick introduction of the FutureNow Innovation Center. The center was officially launched in August 2018, and we were very honored to have Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat grace the occasion. Some of you may be aware, DPM Heng, he's also the chairman of Singapore's Future Economy Council. So what the Future Economy Council does is to spearhead and drive future growth for Singapore. And what they did, some years back was to develop 23 industry transformation maps, ITMs. These 23 ITMs were then grouped into 6 clusters. So at the Innovation Center, we basically show our right to play across all these 6 clusters. The content in each bay is carefully curated to flesh out the latest technologies and solutions, that are relevant to businesses within the cluster. So 6 bays where the content is aligned to these 6 clusters. And the +1 bay, we have a total of 7 bays. The +1 bay is really our 5G bay, because we see 5G as a very key horizontal enabler that cuts across all these 6 clusters of the ITMs. The next slide. So Singtel is Asia Pacific's largest multimedia solutions group. I always tell customers that we're not very Sing, not very Tel. Not very Sing because we have a pretty strong regional presence through our network of regional associates. So for example, Airtel in India and Africa, AIS in Thailand, Globe in the Philippines, Telkomsel in Indonesia, Optus is wholly owned by us in Australia. So we work very closely. We partner our telco associates very closely, to kind of reach out to the entire region. So because of that regional presence, more than 75% of our operating revenue actually comes from beyond the shores of Singapore. And with 744 million mobile subscribers, we are actually the world's one of the world's top 5 telco operators. Not very tel, because Singtel is not just a telco. We are a technology company, and we are a huge ICT player. And that brings me very nicely to my next slide, which basically paints out the value proposition of Singtel. And I think what we have been able to do very successfully over the past decade is to bring together or to integrate our telco 2.0 capabilities. So for example, 5G, IoT network, heterogeneous network. We are moving towards software-defined everything, our cloud services capabilities. Combine that with our digital services capabilities. This is where NCS really come in with their next generation suite of digital capabilities, where we do things like apps development, apps modernization, data analytics, AI, design thinking, cyber and OT security, so on and so forth. We are also getting big into the engineering space. So things like robotics, fleet management of your autonomous vehicles, embedded systems for your smart factories, so on and so forth, coupled with several of our technology stacks, right? So security stack, data fusion, social media analytics, ed tech capabilities. We bring all that together, integrate them to basically drive future growth, enable and transform the future of industries for Singapore. The last slide that I want to share in my overview talks about partnership. And I want to say that Singtel is a huge advocate and champion of partnership. We have a very extensive partnership ecosystem. We call that our open innovation platform. So in addition to our internal innovations and product development houses, which are constantly rolling out new products and services, what Singtel has done to put ourselves at the forefront of technological evolution is to get ourselves plugged into the R&D space. So we have gone ahead to set up 3 corporate labs in partnership with various institutions. The first one is with NUS, the National University of Singapore, that focuses on cybersecurity. The second one is with NTU, the Nanyang Technological University, that looks at AI, IoT, and analytics. And the third one is in partnership with the Advanced Remanufacturing Technology Center, ARTC. Naturally, for that particular corp lab, we focus on smart manufacturing as well as supply chain innovation type of solutions. We also have our corporate venture arm, which is called Innovate. So what Innovate does is to constantly scan the startup ecosystem, identify high potential tech startups for us to invest in. So happy to share that currently we have about 80 startups in our portfolio. We work very closely with them. Over here at the Innovation Center, we do showcase some of our startup solutions as well. And the last thing that we do in the name of partnership is to work very closely with the global tech players, the likes of Microsoft, Google, Apple, Cisco, VMware, some of the Chinese, Japanese, Taiwanese tech companies as well, to kind of pitch our capabilities together and do joint go-to-market. So I think with that, I've come to the end of my overview. It's a very short one. And I hope that in a nutshell, I have shared some of the capabilities of Singtel, our unique value proposition, as well as some of the key technology areas that we're focusing on. I'm going to stop here and hand the time over to Noel, and then quickly run over to the 5G bay to begin the live streaming. So hang in there, everyone.
Thank you so much, Connie. So what we're going to do right now is to teleport you over to our 5G Bay in a little bit, where, we'll look at 5G, what are some of the key features of 5G, and also at the 5G Bay itself, we'll be framing our presentation around enterprise, smart cities, as well as at the entertainment space as well. And also through these three different pillars, we will then dive into the various use cases, and through our demos, hopefully that will give you a lot more understanding about what 5G can do. And of course, just a gentle reminder for our Q&A segment, don't forget that we're going to have a short segment towards the end of this session. And if you have any burning questions throughout this session at all, do feel free to, key in the Q&A. Do feel free to reach out for the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and feel free to key in the questions over there, and we will address them towards the end of the session. So right now, I'm going to take you over to the 5G Bay, and Connie will be taking you through the presentation. Over to you, Connie.
All right, so hi everyone, it's me again, live streaming, from the FutureNow Innovation Center. Welcome to our 5G Bay. So we say that 2G connected voice, 3G connected data, 4G connected applications. With 5G coming on board, we are approaching a whole new era of connectivity. 5G with its ultra high bandwidth and super low latency will enable massive connectivity. But 5G is not just a connectivity play alone. What we seek to do in Singtel is to harness the capabilities of this next generation network to create new use cases for our enterprise customers. Use cases that will transform their business model, address their business pain points, bringing tremendous benefits, to the enterprises. So that is the reason why some are saying that this network evolution will bring about a business revolution. We're going to play you a video right now on some of the exciting use cases and possibilities of 5G, how 5G will bring about greater innovation, smarter cities, and basically change the way we live, work, learn, and play. Right, so as you can see from the video, there is a plethora of very interesting and exciting 5G use cases, ranging from how 5G is a key enabler for AR, VR, and MR, your XR technologies, bringing about a truly seamless, immersive experience. And this is being leveraged quite a bit in the corporate skills training space. To smart automation, how 5G ultra-low latency will support remote machine control, fleet management of your AGV, to robotics, how 5G enable the integration of cyber physical systems, giving us the capabilities to create digital twin of a smart factory, where we can do things like cloud robotics, sitting the intelligence of our robotics on the cloud. To healthcare, 5G will definitely enhance telemedicine. This is especially useful for rural areas without, wired network access. How 5G will enable remote surgery. So at this point, I'm excited to share that the first remote brain surgery was carried out in China about a year ago. All right, so the patient was about 3,000 kilometers away from the surgeon. Patient was in Beijing, the surgeon was in Hainan Island, and the entire 6-hour surgery was enabled by 5G, which allowed that real-time instant feedback, for the surgeon. He was wearing haptic gloves and using surgical robotic arms to place a brain stimulator into the brain of the patient. 6-hour surgery, very successful, fully enabled by 5G. 5G will also enable AR and VR to support remote medical training. We have an interesting demo on that, which we will show you later. How 5G will bring collaboration and communications to a whole new level. So think about your 3D holographic calls, as well as your various smart virtual workplace solutions. How 5G is a very key enabler for drone operations, where you can use drones to do things like building inspection, as well as surveillance for your smart estates. How 5G support massive IoT, fleet management, goods tracking. And of course, out there in the horizon, how 5G ultra low latency will accelerate your autonomous vehicles, your V2X. So lots of exciting use cases. At this point, what I'll do is a very quick comparison between our current network 4G vis-a-vis 5G and just highlight some of the very key differences. So for 4G, I think we're quite familiar with this. In terms of the speed, it is about 100 Mbps to 1 Gbps per connection. Latency is around 30 to 50 milliseconds. Okay, I always got to sneak this in. In Singtel, we have the fastest latency in that sense, 33 milliseconds. In terms of mobility, 4G can support up to 350 kilometers per hour for connections per kilometer square. When it's 4G, we can connect up to 10,000 devices. For network architecture, 4G is fixed. What about 5G? As you can see, the speed of 5G is at least 10 Gbps per connection, and that is 10 times faster than that of 4G. Latency is a very key value proposition of 5G, ultra low latency. This is less than 3 milliseconds. So what exactly is less than 3 milliseconds? Imagine a needle pricking you. Your brain registers the sensation straight away, right? That takes about 1/100th of a second. Less than 3 milliseconds is 1/10 of this 1/100th of a second. So if you think about it, it is many, many, many times faster than the blink of a human eye. In terms of mobility, you can be seated in a bullet train, traveling at 500 kilometers per hour, going through the tunnel, working on your laptop. No network disruption at all to your connectivity. In terms of connections per kilometer square, now under 5G, we can connect up to at least 1 million devices. And that is the reason why we say that 5G will propel IoT and bring about the massive explosion of connected devices and sensors. Network architecture, because 5G is primarily a software-defined network, it is programmable. What this means is that we can do network slicing, create and allocate specific network slice for specific application, ensuring that maximum level of network performance. All right, so moving along, we definitely believe that 5G will uplift the entire Singapore. At this bay, I have several interesting demo showcases, which I would like to share with you. So from this point onwards, I'm going to structure my presentation around 3 areas: smart cities, enterprises, and in the consumer space, we'll look at how 5G will impact the future of entertainment. So Singapore is big into smart nation initiatives, right? We see 5G as a very key enabler that cuts across all the various vertical, in the smart city space. So for example, for air and sea ports, happy to share that we're working very closely with PSA to trial various exciting 5G use cases. So for example, your autonomous inspection of your cranes using drones, your fleet management of your AGV, plus your enhanced, automated container handlers from ship to shore, while trialing all that to prepare them for the Tuas megaports of the future, right? And in the public safety space, it is about leveraging 5G ultra low latency, for that real-time video surveillance, ensuring that your policing resources that are deployed to the ground have consistent access to your cutting-edge applications. In the vertical of transport, We are also in talks with the Land Transport Authority to discuss how we can leverage the capabilities of 5G, to do things like your connected buses with real-time video surveillance, dynamic traffic light control, as well as your fleet management of autonomous vehicles. I talk about healthcare just now, so I'll skip that. In the vertical of energy and utilities, it is about leveraging 5G to create a virtual power plant. And for that real-time smart grid management, as well as load distribution, real-time fault management, so on and so forth. But 5G will definitely be a very key enabler for your XR technologies, AR and VR, and that will bring about this whole phenomenon, which we call the Internet of Skills, where skills can now be transferred across space. So what the internet did for knowledge, 5G will do so for the transference of skills. And this will change the way we learn and democratizes, labor at a global scale. What this means is this: I can have my junior cardiologist, while he's working on a surgery real time, be trained or be mentored remotely by a senior cardiologist who could be living and working in a different part of the world. And that brings me very nicely to my first demo. This is a VR-enabled medical training demo, and I'm going to get Noelle to help me in this demo. All right, so Noelle, by putting on the VR headset, she's right now teleported into a virtual instance. And she's at the operating theater of Seoul National University Hospital, watching a kidney surgery being performed by a top-notch surgeon. As you can see on your screen, Noelle has a 360 view of the entire OT. She sees where the doctors and nurses are standing, where the medical equipment are being placed. She knows where to read off the vitals of the patient. What's most important, she has an up-close view of the entire kidney surgery. So imagine that Noelle here is a very new surgeon, very young junior surgeon. Using a solution like this, she can basically carry out self-directed learning anytime she wants, right? And she can get into this virtual instance as many times as she wants to get herself familiarized with the entire procedure of the surgery. So what is the value proposition of 5G? Number one, those of you who have tried VR, and if you're like me, you may actually experience a bit of nausea. You feel very nauseous, a bit giddy. That is because anything that is more than 20 milliseconds in latency, your brain is actually telling you that what you're seeing is not real. That's why you feel a bit disoriented. But with 5G coming on board, 5G ultra low latency will wipe out any video lags and remote control delays, ensuring a very smooth and seamless VR experience for users. The second is this. What you see on the screen here is just VR 2K. 5G can support up to VR 4K or even 8K. So that means that in terms of that entire VR immersive experience, the quality, the resolution is going to be superb. All right, you can even see every single capillary, every single vein, so it's going to be super clear. The third value proposition is this. Currently, the headset that Noelle has on her head is pretty clunky, right? And it's very heavy as well. That is because the headset requires heavy processing to run them, right? To run it. With 5G coming on board, we can push the heavy processing to the cloud, and this ensures better performance. This also means that your VR headset device will evolve to become lighter, sleeker, more portable, and cheaper as well. So thanks, Noelle. So that is a 5G use case in a medical training space. Moving along, even in the defense and military training space, 5G is also being leveraged quite a bit. Some of you might have read about the news on the partnership between SK Telecom as well as Korea Military Academy. So what the Korea Military Academy did was to deploy the 5G installation. So with 5G on board, they could also bring together their whole suite of latest technologies. And when they devised their so-called smart military training system, it is very much AR and VR based, a lot of simulations. Right? For example, your VR-based shooting, your VR-based tactical simulation, so on and so forth. Right? And XR technologies are really being leveraged quite a bit, currently in the military training space. So for example, your simulation using AR glasses, basically this provides maintenance support, for your soldiers, teach them how to kind of, repair and support critical warfighting equipment and systems. And this is currently being carried out in the US Marine Corps. VR and multi-domain training. This is train as you fight virtual environments. No longer do you need to fly your battalion of soldiers overseas to get them to train in different terrains, right? Using a solution like this, they can train in many different virtual instance domains. right? And then mixed reality and turnkey training. This is really about preparing your soldiers, so that they can learn how to manage and control integrated system in an immersive experience, for example, like that of an aircraft. All right, so that is 5G for you in the defense and military training space. The next demo that I want to share with you is a solution prototype that we have developed in-house by Singtel's very own 5G team. All right, and we call this solution real-time smart glasses. Okay, I'll get Noel to support me in the demo. All right, so the solution consists of a simple headset device like this with the smart glass on the right. And what it does is that it leverages network mobile edge compute. What this means is that computing now takes place at the network edge. Your workload is now moved very close to the data source. And when this whole experience is powered by 5G, it takes it to a whole new level altogether. 5G will reduce network congestion, enable massive connectivity, and support the transmission of large volume and velocity of data, enabling real-time data analysis. Let us show you how we can use a solution like this in the public safety space. I want you to imagine that Noel here is a police officer and she's now deployed to the ground. We have currently built-in applications for it to do face recognition, object recognition, and real-time language translation. So I want you to imagine that I'm the person of interest. When Noel comes across me,
Face recognition.
straight away you'll see a blue frame appearing over my face, alerting Noel to me. So currently what our police officers do is to carry with them a mod camera, which they need to bring back to the police car, dock it into the port for the data to be streamed back to the operations center so that the data can be analyzed. And if you think about it, this whole process takes quite a bit of time. With a solution like ours, what we can do is real-time data analysis. Let's show them how we can use this for object recognition.
Object recognition.
So currently we have programmed it to identify and recognize electronic objects like your laptops, your mobile devices, your iPad, so on and so forth. Also simple furniture as well as persons. For public safety use, we can always program it to identify and recognize dangerous looking, suspicious looking objects like your guns, your knives, anything with a sharp edge. Okay, we can also use this for real-time language translation. So I want you to imagine with me that a French tourist has approached our police officer here, signaling, gesturing, frantically to our police officer that he has lost his wallet, speaking to Noel in French. Noel doesn't understand French, but using a solution like this, she can get the language translation done real time.
Chat with me. Chat with me.
J'ai perdu mon portefeuille à la station de métro. I lost my wallet at the subway station.
Command center. What is the color of your wallet? Accept.
Quelle est la couleur de ton portefeuille?
Right. She can even use the solution to respond back to the French tourists, using a French translation. So this is very cool use cases in that sense. So what Singtel has done is to integrate 5G with mobile edge compute or multi-access edge compute. Okay, to create a real-time cloud platform that is powered by MEC that harnesses the capabilities of 5G, ultra-fast speed, super low latency, to basically create a digital acceleration platform. And what we are doing is to make this platform accessible and available to app developers, various solution providers, for them to build and develop various AI cutting-edge applications, harnessing the capabilities of 5G, and then deploying these applications seamlessly at the 5G age. Right, so we welcome all of you, to kind of indicate your interest to us and be on board our 5G partnership ecosystem. All right, moving along. Those use cases that I've shared with you are in the smart city space. I'm going to bring you into the enterprise space right now. And I'm going to show you how 5G can better enable spatial computing as well as various XR technologies to basically facilitate real-time multimodal collaboration across geographies. And if you think about it, that adds a lot of value to the enterprise space by literally changing the way we collaborate, by literally changing the way we work. Of course, the whole experience will need very high bandwidth, heavy computing, as well as super low latency connectivity, especially when the users are on the move. I'm going to get Noel and Candice to support me in this. So this solution basically uses spatial computing to visualize data in 3D and XR technologies to create virtual collaborative workspace. So when you get into the virtual workspace, a digital avatar will be created of you. And your avatar can basically interact with and communicate with avatars of your colleagues if all of you are in the same virtual workspace. So I want you to imagine that Candice here is a product designer, Noel here is a marketeer, and these two ladies are working on a range of outdoor backpacks, which will be scheduled for worldwide launch very soon. Right? So they can get into a virtual workspace like this and discuss complex plans as an alternative to face-to-face interaction. And if you think about it, this is really helpful, right? Especially if the two of them are working in two different geographies. Or in today's context, COVID and all, with safe distancing, we can't quite meet face-to-face. A solution like this will be able to help them a lot. So Candice?
So imagine if I am a product designer and I've actually built these 3 different models of backpack that I want to share with Noelle, who's my marketer. I can actually share the different fabric swatches with her, show her what the potential models will look like, also show her the, demographic that I'm trying to go after, prototype design, so on and so forth. Especially when it comes to super detailed discussions such as this, we can actually, kind of enlarge the whole thing, talk about the details of it, the belts and buckles, all the whistles and all that stuff. And then we can really discuss or not whether this is ready for launch. And if for some bizarre reason, Noelle says that she wants a Valentine's Day addition to this backpack, I can even do simple prototyping. Get a nice little heart model, pop it on the backpack, and ta-da, there you go, Valentine's Day edition. So really, this helps to enable us to collaborate with each other, especially when we're not within the same location. But most importantly, this does not drop any of the details that are required for a discussion such as this. We can even get down to work after that to really talk about the potential addressable market for such a backpack design, so on and so forth. Talk about project launch timelines, design timelines, when do we actually go to prototype, when do we produce this backpack, so on and so forth. So really, we can discuss many, many, many things in a platform such as this. But at the end of the day, if we're done with our discussion and we still want to hang out as colleagues, because I haven't seen her in a long time, for example, in this COVID environment, we can actually then, go and chill in a little corner of our little virtual room, have a little drink, cheers, have a little cocktail, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
So
this is their favorite activity,
well.
right? All right, so if you ask me, this is almost like your Teams or your Zoom on steroids. And you may ask me, what is the value proposition of 5G here, right? 5G comes in when either one of them or together the two of them come to me and say, look, Connie, we want to work on the go. So instead of having to sit in the office in front of their high-powered computer to do all this re-rendering of heavy AutoCAD files, they can basically use a simple visualization device like an iPad or even their mobile device and basically work on the go. This is because with 5G coming on board, heavy computing can now take place in the cloud. Right? So you don't need your heavy-duty, sophisticated, expensive hardware to work anymore. Right? And this really supports, working on the go. Very interesting virtual smart workplace solution. I'm going to move on right now to the consumer space and look at how 5G will bring about the future of entertainment. Right? So 5G, by enabling AR, VR, and MR, will change the way consumers experience multimedia. 5G will also liberalize and disrupt the gaming industry through cloud gaming by supporting multi-devices across multi-players. I will touch on cloud gaming later. I just want to highlight 2 ways that 5G can uplift and enhance immersive experience. The first is this: VR enabled by 5G will give us virtual tourism. All right, and if you think about it, this is really apt, right? In a COVID situation like ours, we can't quite travel. Many of us are missing our holiday travels very much. So imagine from the comfort of your home, seated on your couch, by putting on a very sleek VR headset, you can be teleported, to very chill, different environments like this. Really get your mind off work, and really enjoy the virtual environment. In the healthcare space, medical practitioners are also using virtual tourism to kind of treat patients with depression by basically immersing them in all this relaxation-induced environment so that their moods and their spirits can be uplifted through interacting with the virtual environment. So that is one. The second way that 5G can uplift immersive experience is really through better live streaming. And this will impact the way we experience our live events. So think about your live sports events. Olympics is going on right now in Japan. Think about your live concerts, right? So through 5G better live streaming, we can actually have a virtual experience that could be as good as a Category 1 physical seat, providing us that up-close experience of that entire concert at maybe a fraction of the physical seat ticket price, right? So the next demo that we want to show you, Candice will help me in this, is a virtual concert. By putting on the VR headset, Candice is getting teleported to Colorado, where she's watching a rock concert by this group called Imagine Dragons. Right? Are you in the instance? Yes. Right. So as you can see, Candice is right now at the concert place. She has a 360 view of the entire place. She can view what is going on stage from different vantage points, including transporting herself to the back of the stage or right to the very front of the stage, where she gets a very up-close view, of the lead singer. So close until she can see the abs of the lead singer, right? Okay, and in a virtual instance like this, Candice can also invite her friends to join her, and all of them can basically be participating, interacting with each other, singing and dancing, all in a virtual instance. Right, so that is a virtual concert for you, and I'm happy to share that actually the world's largest concert took place last year during pandemic year, right? And that was in Seoul. Yes, you're right, it was the BTS concert, right? And this concert was fully digital. They sold more than 1 million tickets. Fans from more than 190 countries joined the concert, and sales actually clocked in at 45 million. The world's largest concert took place during pandemic year last year, fully digital. Moving along, I'm going to talk about gaming right now. So for those of you who are avid gamers or you have children who are gamers, I'm sure you will agree with me that there are lots of challenges faced by both gamers as well as developers, okay? For gamers, first of all, very expensive upfront hardware costs. I heard from Candice and Joshua, who are both avid gamers, that a set of computer to play your high-end games can easily cost $10,000. And if you ask me, that is quite steep. And then, of course, there is that need for constant upgrades. Plus, they can't quite play on the go because of network and connectivity challenges. And if you think about it, this can be quite a pain in the neck for gamers. For developers, there is a need for separate development. Every time they use a different platform, they have to balance graphics with gameplay as well as hardware performance. And then you have your issue of piracy and cheating, right? Because the games come to you in a DVD format, it's not difficult to actually duplicate that. So we believe that cloud gaming enabled by 5G will be able to resolve many of these challenges. With cloud gaming, computing now happens in the cloud. Your game is streamed directly from the cloud to your device. What this means is that your high-end games are no longer dependent on the specifications of your device. I'll get Candice and Lakisha to show you the demo.
So what you see over here is Lakisha is playing a AAA first-person shooter game. Some of you are maybe familiar with it. It's called Destiny 2. He's actually playing this game off this Raspberry Pi over here. And that's all. He's connected to this Raspberry Pi, which is casting on this very simple, not even a smart TV. So what we're saying is this will be very, very exciting for cloud gamers in the future as well, because I can have this very great graphic experience that is low latency and high bandwidth as well, that allows me to play a multiplayer online game such as Destiny 2. Most importantly for Lakisha, he doesn't have to buy a PlayStation for his living room, an Xbox for his bedroom, or a gaming rig anymore, because now any visualization device at the end of the day will become his gaming device as well. So that's fairly exciting for any gamers out there if you think about it. But that's great for home use. What's more important is that if Lakisha wants to take this experience on the go with him, if he wants to, still continue his match while he's on his way to work. And you have to think about it from a match perspective. I don't want to pause my game, come back 8 hours later, and then decide to finish it off because I only have X amount of hours in a day, right? So if Lakisha wants to take this on the go with him and continue playing his game while he's on the train, on the MRT station, or even when he's, during his lunch break at work, he could do that as long as nobody sees it, that's fine. He's still able to create this experience of being able to play his game on his mobile phone with 5G, enabling that, of course. And if you think about it, it's also pretty exciting. So most importantly, this creates this seamless effect of being able to game anywhere you want. Thank you, Lakisha.
Thanks a lot, Candice. All right, so I'm happy to share that Singtel is building our 5G ecosystem. And that consists of a 5G showcase, like what we have here at the FutureNow Innovation Center, where we basically paints the benefits and opportunities, for our enterprise customers. And we are in the process of beefing up 5G technical competency in all our network engineers as well. We are also actively engaging our enterprise customers to carry out various 5G use case trials with us. So we do have several 5G test beds, and we welcome you guys to indicate your interest, should any of you be keen to harness the capabilities of 5G, for your business. And the last thing that we do is to work with various institutions to develop, and co-create 5G enabled solutions. So I think at this juncture, I will take a pause. I want to hand the time over to Candice right now, where she will share more exciting 5G use cases and initiatives in the retail space. How Singtel is leveraging 5G ourselves to create a next generation retail experience, and how 5G is a key game changer, for Industry 4.0. Candice, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much, Connie. So it's like magic, right? Suddenly I'm there and suddenly I'm not. But no, that's the whole magic of live stream. So I hope this section earlier actually helped to spark some ideas in terms of how 5G can be exciting in a huge plethora of ways. But some of the key things that I will focus on for this presentation is actually on how we're using 5G in two specific areas. One in retail transformation and the other one in Industry 4.0 as well. So as you can see from my slide below, I will do a quick introduction of Unboxed. I'm not sure if you've seen this around Singapore, but we have this little modular boxes. They are 24/7, completely unmanned. They're super modular, and they serve as a pop-up store for us to actually reach out to our consumers as well. So it's very, very exciting. So what I'm going to show you is a quick video of how all of this is quickly packed up into a very, very modular format and how it's all powered by 5G. So let's take a look at that.
Welcome to Unboxed by Singtel, the world's first truly unmanned pop-up store that fulfills our vision of providing the most intelligent and friendly self-service solutions. From the moment you enter, you can discover and compare the latest phones and gadgets easily. Our video-assisted self-serve kiosk offers a wide range of services, including sign-up or recontract for mobile plans. It uses advanced facial recognition to create a seamless experience with a live video chat agent to assist you on your purchase of a new phone. What's more, enjoy personalized recommendations based on your profile and preferences. Once you've purchased your new phone, you can collect it instantly from the unique in-store pop station just a few steps away. You can also approach our friendly live bot for assistance in store. Try a new phygital experience that lets you touch and feel the latest accessories before purchasing them. The Sentinel security system by NCS provides 24/7 remote surveillance and automated security control. Our store is truly unmanned and effective in identifying theft, vandalism, and any suspicious activity. Get ready to unbox a fully automated, friendly, and secure pop-up store experience. Coming to a location near you. Unboxed by Singtel.
Okay, so fun fact, we launched this back in 2019. The first area in which we piloted it was actually at 8 George Street. Those of you who work in the CBD area would probably have seen it before. Then we moved it to ComCenter, Wisma Atria, Plaza Sing. I think the next stop for us is going to be Sentosa, so that's fairly exciting. Keep a lookout for that. Most importantly, what we're trying to say is the modularity of it means that I can easily pack up the store and then move it anywhere I want because I'm no longer restrained by connectivity. Once it's powered by 5G, this means that I don't have to think about laying my fiber optic cables onto areas in which I can actually deploy the store. Anywhere can have the store as well. So I can literally pack it up overnight and spring it up the next day. And some of the key technologies that you see within the store are quite interesting as well. And most importantly, they require the high bandwidth and low latency of 5G in order to make it a good customer experience. So for example, we have some of the live bots roving around the shop to ask you, hi, how may I assist you today? To do a little bit of cute little interaction with the customers as well. So they find it fresh as well from a experiential perspective. So we use facial recognition as well to look at how we can really give very personalized recommendations to people who come into our store, so that we don't sell them something they don't need, for example. And then we do have the video assisted self-serve kiosks, so that we can have that video assisted conversations with our contact center agents. So all of this naturally powered by 5G will make it a lot more possible and a lot more exciting. And last but not least, we have the security system, all enabled by NCS. It's 24/7. We have, several IoT devices, motion detectors, security cameras, so on and so forth, all powered by 5G in a small little space. So fun fact, if you tried to yank a phone out of its cradle and run out the store will actually shut down on you. So please don't try that. So that's actually quite fun if you think about it, all these possibilities that 5G will bring to the table. So that's what we're thinking about when we're using 5G to transform the retail experiences from an enterprise perspective in how we're going to engage our customers in this space. So that's always been a top of our minds. But when we showcase this to our customers, they actually get quite excited about it because they think about it in many different industry verticals as well. This is great for customer engagement from the retail perspective, but if you think about it from the healthcare perspective, it could be, far-reaching for teleconsultation, telemedicine as well. If you think about being able to deploy this into rural areas without fiber optic connectivity, this will be very, very critical for them. And even for some banks that we speak to, they think about it from serving the underbanked population as well, being able to bring all these branch services to them as well. I think that's quite exciting. So that's for the customer engagement retail side of the business. And the next one I want to cover is also about the Industry 4.0 enablers and how 5G will actually enhance and uplift a lot of that. So we all know that Industry 4.0 is actually the trend towards the use of automation and data. It's a combination of all the key technologies that you see over here: advanced analytics, robotics, AR, VR, AI, so on and so forth. But most importantly, it's where technology platforms and systems are extremely smart and efficient. And all these hyper connectivity of data, networks, technology systems, they can bring about smart manufacturing, supply chain innovation, and most importantly, we're trying to make processes more automated, more integrated, and responsive and agile. So together with 5G's ultra high bandwidth, super low latency, greater throughput, and more importantly, the ability to really get the most out of edge computing, this means that we can better enable all these technologies that you see, and we can operate all of that in a dynamic, cyber secure environment to ensure that all these interconnected systems are not compromised in any way as well. So one of the key game changers in Industry 4.0 is actually in cyber physical systems. So all of these interconnected cyber physical systems actually lend itself very well to the creation of a digital twin of a smart factory. So naturally, it's a virtual representation of a factory or a manufacturing line. Most importantly, it enables the factory manager the visualization capabilities to monitor and control all your machines on the factory floor. So if you think about it, it's really bringing your work from home to the next level. So you can control your various machines, your systems, your processes, especially from a remote perspective. You still can allow your factory managers, for example, to go under the hood of each and every single machine to check its status, provide real-time data to carry out predictive maintenance, as well as run simulations for troubleshooting as well. So to illustrate this point, what I'm going to do is to show you a demo of a digital twin of a small-scale smart factory. So I'll port you back to FIC later to take a look at that. But this is done in collaboration with NCS and ARTC as part of our corporate lab initiative that Connie mentioned earlier as well. So what you see in the demo later is that the platform is controlling 3 modules. One is the, naturally the different kinds of robots that I have on my factory floor that I'm operating. The second is the tasks all of these robots have to carry out. And finally, how do I optimize the routes and plans for all of that using all of these technology stacks that you saw earlier that I showcased. So now let's take a look at the demo video and I'll port you back to FutureNow. What we have here is a digital twin of a small-scale smart factory.
This is done in collaboration with NCS and ARTC as part of our Corporate Labs initiative. The platform consists of 3 different modules. The first module being what kinds of robots do I have within my platform itself that I have control over. The second one being what kind of tasks do I need to divvy out to these robots so they can do their jobs. And the last one being path planning. What kind of paths should these robots take in order to fulfill the tasks that they are tasked with? All the robots are hooked up to the inventory management system so that it can fulfill the orders that are divvied out to them. Now let's take a look at how our smart factory operates autonomously without any human intervention from end to end. Right here behind me, I have a digital twin of FutureNow Innovation Center. We are controlling 3 different robot modules. The first one being the yellow autonomous guided vehicle that you see on the screen, and the second and third one being the 2 cobots that you see next to me right here. What's going to happen is that the restock station will start to ping the platform to say that stock is low. My AGV will go to the warehouse, pick out the right pallets, and using its LiDAR sensor, navigate its way to the cobots that I have on the factory floor. Once it has reached the cobot will start to use its computer vision as well as object recognition technology to pick out the right pallets from the AGV and place it onto the corresponding factory line. These 2 cobots that I have will then need to collaborate with each other in order to complete the task. The small robot has the task of color sorting all these wooden blocks. It identifies the red and blue ones as good products and the green ones as defective products that has not passed quality checks. As it starts to scan all the different blocks onto its sensor and place it on the corresponding line, the digital twin behind me shows the productivity and yield levels of the factory floor itself. So the factory operator essentially can see everything in real time. And that is why 5G is so important to a smart factory of the future, because low latency connectivity is essential for these robots to collaborate and communicate with each other seamlessly in order to carry out a task. All of these can also be reflected on a digital twin, where the factory operator can see exactly what's happening on his factory floor in real time. And finally, one of the key enablers of smart factory is also cloud robotics, because I can now have the intelligence of all these robots on the cloud itself without needing to invest in sophisticated robotics on my factory floor. So costs come down significantly for me as a factory operator as well. And that really is the power of 5G for smart factories of the future.
Thank you, Mi. Another thing I want to highlight is also with 5G coming on board, there's going to be a lot of flexibility in terms of your infrastructure layout, because a lot of the times now smart factories are generally very wired up. So this means that you're tied very much to the placement of your routers and your wireless APs. Whereas, with 5G coming on board, as long as you plug in the SIM card, it's going to be a lot better, a lot easier to quickly, pivot your factory line to become a little bit more efficient as well. So the next one I want to highlight is how we're actually applying 5G in the AR VR space, and also looking at how that will enable Industry 4.0 as well, because actually AR and VR actually quickly lowers the cognitive load of your users when they're looking at complex and very, very detailed data sets as well. So let's see how this is being used in a remote assistance standpoint, especially when the end user is doing something in the field. And we'll transport you to the 5G garage where this is shot.
In fieldwork today, many industries are heavily reliant on on-site support model for any troubleshooting, diagnostics, and repair work. Scheduling an expert consult for an unexpected breakdown can be tricky, and this often results in long lead times for repairs and maintenance works. With the help of mixed reality and 5G, remote assistance becomes much more accessible and intuitive, greatly aiding in troubleshooting complex equipment and quicker resolution. Using a headset like this Magic Leap device, engineers can continue performing their tasks hands-free while having access to real-time consultation from an expert in a command center. Imagine if Joshua here is called to investigate a pipe leak. By putting on the headset, he will be able to see a digital model of the pipe to understand the different parts of it. With a 3D model, he can easily rotate and take apart the pipe digitally as reference, even if the actual pipes are hard to access. If he's having trouble with diagnosing the problem, he can call an expert to help remotely, and the expert can walk him through the work step by step, relaying instructions and demonstrating the repair digitally. This greatly helps in speeding up repair works, and now you can even centralize expert consult. Technicians and engineers with years of industry and domain knowledge can work remotely and provide expert support from anywhere they wish. For the engineers on the ground, getting access to a piece of equipment to play with will accelerate their familiarization of equipment. With 5G's low latency and ability to create network slices on the fly, this means that users on the field are guaranteed connectivity and real-time assistance with the complex equipment in the field environment they work in. In the event of a network congestion, the device will be able to communicate with our 5G MEC platform to indicate that it needs a dedicated network slice. The platform can then create this network slice with the required download speed and latency, ensuring an ultra-reliable connection.
So I hope that really gives you a great idea in terms of how 5G can really enable AR/VR, especially on the field, where most of the time you don't get Wi-Fi as well. So something like that will really, really be very good for mission critical applications, and it saves a tremendous amount of time when you think about the amount of time you need to fly in an expert consult. So there's a good room for the performance of supply chain applications as well to be enhanced by 5G. So when you think about it enhancing smart factories, enhancing field work, naturally it's also great in the warehouse and logistics space as well, because 5G comes in to better enable robotics, especially automated robots and drone operations when you think about it in the inventory management perspective and the last mile delivery perspective as well. Most importantly, it enables that seamless operations from warehouse to logistics, or even warehouse to warehouse. If you're thinking about a mega warehouse site where you have your drones flying in and out of the warehouse, and there is a handoff process from indoor to outdoor back to indoor again. So there needs to be this seamless transition between your Wi-Fi access points to your 5G, to so on and so forth. So with 5G's ultra high bandwidth and super low latency, this will support the transmission of large volumes and velocities of data to enable your real-time data analytics, especially if you're a logistics company that requires that for better forecasting, planning, route optimization, and where you can have things like relay logistics in the future as well, with things like your IoT sensors and your GPS routes and all that stuff. You can have multiple drivers and multiple delivery trucks that are fitted with sensors and real-time data for location tracking and route optimization when you do things like relay logistics. At the end of the day, all these gives rise to a aggregator model so that startups can start to use these kinds of data to do a pay-as-you-use warehouse space, if you will. And a lot of players are already in that space to do on-demand truck and delivery services as well. So at the end of the day, what we're saying is that all these applications will lead to greater innovation in the supply chain space. So it's all about using data and technology to garner insights and greater visibility to enable transformation of manufacturing as well as smart logistics. So we envision the future of supply chain to be one that has end-to-end transparency, where processes are a lot more agile, a lot more flexible, where everything is automated, is autonomous, where you get real-time feedback as well. So now you can move the once linear supply chain to something that is a lot more modular as well. So with the single source of truth of information, you get higher visibility, higher accuracy. So your stakeholders who want to make decisions, whether it's your suppliers, your service providers, or even your team on the ground, they get better forecasting, better planning, better transparency for your organizing, control, and execution of the flow of goods by using data itself. So enabling the whole modularity of the supply chain, getting very, very personalized in terms of customer centricity as well. Because for example, for the factory, if you have suddenly a huge supply that you want to push out promotions to the customers, you can do that. And for the customers, you can track your production from the manufacturing process all the way to delivery. You get real-time information for your shipment, you can reroute, you can switch your mode of delivery, so on and so forth. All these things with the rise of consumerization, we have come to expect as well. Because now with the continuous flow of real-time data and feedback, we can better respond to customer needs, as well as bring about what we call everything as a service. And well, my last slide, what I want to really highlight in this space is that 5G will really create this multiplier effect across the entirety of the value chain. So I spoke a lot about manufacturing earlier, and we are also speaking with many of the ecosystem partners and device manufacturers to really start looking at future-proofing the things they are putting out. So 5G chipsets for everything that you can think about: IoT devices, headsets, AR/VR glasses, even things like AVs and electric cars, because these are coming. So what can we do to make sure that, you know, all these devices ecosystem are supported and can really work on 5G, especially when we're looking at all these different kinds of services and apps that we're trying to build on top of that. So with all these ecosystem developing, we can start to develop smart logistics, smart warehousing, smart air and seaports technologies to really transform business models as well. So becoming more efficient, to look at new ways of generating revenue. At the end of the day, working with startups like yourselves to look at building applications on top of all of these IoT devices using our edge compute functionalities. We're really looking at it, driving it from a platform as a service kind of model. So think about, you know, what, for example, the smartphone did for our lives, right? We live off the smartphone entirely. We bank on it, we talk to our friends on it, we work on it. So what that did for applications, 5G is going to do for IoT devices. Your IoT devices in the future are going to be so multifunctional, so agile. It's going to be very, very different from the way you think about it. So naturally, all of these need to work in a cyber secure environment as well. So Singtel, being a network operator, we make sure everything is secure by design. Everything we build has security from the ground up. And we really say that 5G will be the key digital accelerant to most enterprises' digital transformation ambitions and efforts as well. So with that, I end my session on the 5G use cases and possibilities. And what I'm going to do now is to hand the time over to Mark, who is the Director of 5G Business Planning and Partnerships. And he'll take you through maybe 2 or 3 slides on the focus areas and trials in which we're doing in 5G and how you can work together with Singtel on this 5G journey as well. So over to you, Mark.
Okay, thank you so much, Candice. So I think you heard a lot about 5G. Key things that keeps coming up is higher bandwidth, lower latency. Why I just wanted to highlight with regards to 5G is, as opposed to what's been happening in 4G, is in 4G we're actually very focused on moving data from one point to another. In 5G, we are not only better moving things from one point to the other, but we are also focusing on the ability to move the compute infrastructure closer to where data is being generated so that data can be analyzed. And it's no surprise that a lot of the use cases that we're currently testing with our customers are predominantly focused on these 2 aspects of 5G. One is the higher bandwidth that 5G brings, and the second is the lower latency. And the lower latency is actually being offered because of the ability of shifting compute infrastructure closer to the 5G edge. So maybe we can actually move on to the next slide. I'm not going to talk too much about this slide because I think there are a lot of use cases that has been mentioned earlier by Connie, Candice, and Noel. Just maybe wanted to emphasize some of these use cases. These use cases are something that we are actually testing currently with our customers or have plans to actually test with our customers. The first one that seems to have a lot of traction is around drones leveraging a video analytics payload. Why this is actually very interesting and exciting for our customers is the big issue with regards to certain applications such as drones is, you really do not want to keep flying the drone back to home base to switch out the application. You want the ability to just, switch out applications on the fly. And that's what 5G is capable of doing. So for a lot of our trials, a lot of it is actually centered around the ability to switch workloads as the drone is in operation. This is actually afforded because previously all the applications, whether it's video analytics and so forth, is actually done on the drone itself. We makes it very, very challenging if in the middle of flight, you want to actually switch from a video applications from maybe example, surveillance applications to something like a social distancing application. With 5G, because this is actually being analyzed and implemented on the cloud edge, which is the MEC, you're able to actually do that. It provides you a lot of flexibility around it. So as mentioned, right, this use case revolves around the two major benefits of 5G. One of them is moving bigger amounts of data, which is streaming video. And the second one is actually shifting that video analytics workload onto the edge, which allows you to afford the kind of flexibility in shifting or changing algorithms on the fly. Other use cases you see are things like maritime use cases where you're actually looking at autonomous vehicles. In this case, in point, AGVs, where you're actually looking at leveraging AGVs, making sure that they're actually moving around the port yard seamlessly. This is to actually ensure safety. So a use case that tends to come out very, very often around this is how do you do platooning? How do you actually get AGVs to move in a synchronous motion, such a way that it doesn't collide? And at the same time, when you're actually moving in a synchronized manner, you're able to move them very, very close to each other without collision. So that's one use case that we're actually testing out in the ports. Another use case that you see is in the ports, you're actually shifting a lot of very expensive cargo and equipment. Any latency with regards to making decisions on where to place example, a container could lead to a very costly outcome. Example, if it's the container is actually damaged. As mentioned also by, I think, Connie or by Candice, gaming is actually an extreme use case that we have been testing with some of our customers. Cloud gaming is actually a great example of the power of 5G. Is because you're actually offloading the compute facility onto the cloud edge, which is the MEC. Traditionally, if you actually have the application running on the public cloud, what happens is you get a lot of latency. And what that means is if you're a gamer, you receive a lot of lags. And what happens is as you're playing a first shooter game, example, right? Even as your opponents are receiving perfect quality, you might be seeing the lags that results in your losing the game. So that is a specific use case that we're actually seeing a lot of potential around 5G. Cloud gaming is one extreme example, is because although in the cloud you see, sometimes you're able to receive decent quality, but you don't have a consistent experience. What it means is, on one hand, you might be receiving, example, a sub-millisecond experience sometimes, but at most of the time, you might be actually receiving a 80 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds latency experience, which is not great. This is actually as opposed to something that when the application is running on the cloud edge, which is basically the MEC, you get a consistent less than 10 millisecond experience. And then lastly, I just want to highlight the manufacturing, because manufacturing is one of the use cases where you do see a need for extreme latency requirement. But not only that, the two factors that determine whether application or technology is suitable in the manufacturing environment is the ability to provide very high availability, redundant solution in place. And when you're actually deploying a edge cloud on premise, you actually overcome some of the concerns you have with regards to disruption of manufacturing environment. And then the other factor that the manufacturers are very, very concerned around is also security. If you don't have data moving out of your environment, that's when there is actually assurance that the customers feel, especially around deploying of new technologies. So maybe can actually move on to the next slide. So this is actually how we're actually engaging not only our customers, but our partners. Singtel, as mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of facilities in place. We have 3 major facilities that are actually highlighted here. The one that Connie, Candice, and Noel are actually situated right now and streaming their demos from right now is FutureNow Innovation. That's where we actually engage a lot of our tech partners and our customers, allowing them to actually explore and experience the power of 5G. We also do have 2 other facilities. One of them is a 5G garage, and the other one is a center of digital excellence, which is CODE. These 2 facilities, we do have a 5G sandbox environment where we actually bring our customers and we bring our tech partners in to actually test the power of 5G, allowing them to actually test both the 5G radio capabilities, the standalone core capabilities, which is a true implementation of 5G, but not only that, but the ability to also test the application on the MEC, which is the edge cloud capabilities. So we normally bring our customers and our tech partners into one of these environments to allow them to actually co-innovate with us and actually test out their solution. For customers or tech partners who have very large equipment, or can't shift their testing outside of their environment, and bring it into our labs, we do have another facility. Maybe you can move on to the next slide. This is the portable kit that Singtel has developed in conjunction with Ericsson, where we are actually able to actually bring the lab to a customer and technology partners environment. This particular setup is actually, as you can see, is actually a very small setup comprising of an antenna and a mask, a tripod that you see on the right, and a small little case that is actually portable. This is actually a case on wheels, so you can actually shift it very easily in a MPV or in a very small SUV or in a van. It's actually very quick to set up. It brings the power of 5G into a customer environment if they do not have 5G already in that particular environment. So it takes about an hour to set up, easy to actually transport, about an hour to actually set up. So it gives the customer the ability to test not only the 5G radio capabilities, but it also gives them the ability to test a local breakout or a local MEC so that they can actually test low latency application in their premise. So, this is actually going to be the last slide for myself. I just wanted to give a bit of time so that we can actually have a question and answer. So maybe I'll actually pass it back, pass the time back.
Thank you so much, Mark. Wei Ming, will you be facilitating the Q&A?
Hi everyone, thanks Mark, thanks Connie. Just give me a while, I believe my video is...
I think we have got a few questions here, right? So thanks a lot for the questions that are raised. So my colleagues from Singtel, let's manage the questions together. So Mark, feel free to chime in as well.
Yes. So anyway, once again, just addressing to all audience here. You have any questions along the way? Okay, I think this is the time for you to start posting them. Please use the Q&A box located at the bottom panel of your screen, and I believe Connie and team will definitely do their best in answering them. All right, so I think we do have a couple of questions that has been listed now, but perhaps to just set the context a little bit wider to have our audience have a better understanding. Connie, perhaps maybe you can share a little bit, what is the current 5G roadmap is like in Singapore currently? Right,
yeah, thanks a lot, Wei Ming, for this first question. So in terms of the 5G rollout roadmap, by 2022, half the island will have 5G coverage. And by end of 2025, almost the entire island will have that 5G coverage. Right. So of course, for startups that's actually listening to this right now, right? As you can hear, the plan of rolling out 5G is definitely in place. So if you want to get in on it, now is the perfectly good time to do so.
And of course, if you're unsure as to how your technology, your solution or product is actually applicable, now is the time to also raise some of these questions so that the team here can also help to answer as well. All right, a few questions here. Perhaps one question by Jonathan Tan. I believe there's two parts to this question over here. So the question listed is, will low-powered IoT devices be able to run on 5G, which he believes has higher power consumption than low-power wide area networks. So I think the two parts to this is that the first one is being, does running on 5G networks result in a higher power consumption rate on these IoT devices? I believe that's the first one. And the second part is that can it be run on as in what kind of benefits does it give to these IoT devices as compared to running on low power wide area networks?
Okay, so maybe I'll take on the question first, and then Mark, you can chime in. I know you're the IoT expert here. All right, 5G compared to low power wide area networks, definitely low powered WAN is much more power saving, right? So I think it all depends on the use case that you have in mind and whether that low powered WAN is available or not. But I just want to share that between 4G and 5G, actually 5G is much more power saving than 4G. Yeah, so Mark, on IoT, you want to share your views?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of considerations you have to actually consider when looking at this. One is obviously power consumption. That's definitely a given. The second is also the cost economics of it. 5G is relatively new. It will take some time to hit the cost economics for certain devices, example, IoT type devices. The first focus area for 5G would be predominantly very low latency, high bandwidth application. But as you actually progress into future releases of 5G, MMTC, massive machine type communication, is supposed to address not only the current capabilities of IoT, but also the gaps of the technology associated with NB-IoT. Some of the gaps is the ability to actually attach a lot of devices, meaning the density of devices going up.
Right. How can these IoT devices be further improved on that? Is there any hardware inputs required? Updates or upgrades required?
Currently, based on if I'm understanding the question, if you're actually looking at doing a firmware upgrade from a 4G type NB-IoT, that means NB-IoT is obviously an evolution of 4G to actually a 5G. This will have to actually be supported by the manufacturer. But for my understanding, currently, no. Existing solutions on 5G, you require a change in the equipment that the devices that you're actually looking at.
Thank you, Mark. I hope that answered Jonathan's question. And perhaps another one that I think is also relevant to Mark as well is that a question by Navin. I think previously you mentioned about Singtel MEC. So Navin is asking, where can they actually access more information on Singtel MEC? How can they get access to it?
Okay. So it's actually, if you actually want access to the MEC, you can actually definitely contact myself because, as mentioned, we do have a lab facility. We have a few lab facility. I'm one of the owner for one of the lab facilities, Code, which will be able to give you access to Singtel's MEC. On a case-by-case basis. We do have a lot of customers and tech partners actually asking for it. I also can see from Naveen, he has actually a couple of questions with regards to Azure MEC and AWS wavelength. I think there's two parts to this particular question. As with all the hyperscalers, they do have a variety of offerings. The first wave of the offering revolves around the Stack Hub with Stack Edge and then Stack Hub with Microsoft. These are something that we do have also. Similarly for AWS is actually Outpost. The question around wavelength and the equivalent for Microsoft, which is basically 8 zones. There's always a mouthful with Microsoft. 8 zones, private 8 zones with carriers. so it's a mouthful. These are things that we're actually having conversation with the hyperscalers right now. But as of now, what we're actually working with the hyperscalers meaning AWS and Microsoft, are around Stack Hub and Outpost.
All right. So Navin, I mean, if you want to know more, definitely you can write into us to have a little bit more, maybe a greater detailed conversation with the Singtel team, so that so as to get access and more information on the Singtel MEC. I hope that answers your questions over there. All right.
And sorry, Wei Ming, I also see a question on the chat rather than the Q&A, but maybe I thought I would just want to actually address that because that's probably a very important one. It's about the fact that the assumption that 5G technology will come at actually a very high cost. There is actually a truth and some elements of truth, but not necessarily the case. With 5G as opposed to 4G, right, you will have the ability to ask for dedicated networks to be actually implemented and managed for you. So when you're actually referring to that aspect of it, yes, there will be a step increase in the cost associated with it, because what Singtel will be actually doing for you will be actually deploying a network in your environment and managing that environment. And obviously that would definitely come at a cost. But as with, if you are actually not requesting for dedicated facilities to be implemented for you, similarly to the service that we are actually offering for 4G, which is what 5G we are actually also offering, this service would be, similar or lower in terms of cost economics of 4G.
Okay, which actually that is the next portion that I'm going to get into as well, which is the whole matter of dollar and cents, right? I mean, for startups, I think one of the greatest concerns is that the usage of funds, to be able to onboard into 5G, what is the level of support they can get, what is the amount of input they need to put in as compared to the output that they will be seeing. So of course, the question by Yu Kyung, I think there is actually a follow-up in the Q&A segment, which is like, what is like the general ballpark figure? Are you able to give some sensing as to some of these example setup costs involved?
This is for Genie, right?
Yes,
I think,
for Genie.
Yeah. Mark?
Okay, for Genie, right? Genie is actually a case-by-case approach for us. Example, because we do have a limited number of Genies, and we actually, there are a couple of criteria when we actually will be passing out Genies for testing. The cost associated with Genie tends to be around logistics. We are not looking to monetize Genie in any form or manner. How we actually are putting criteria, loaning out the Genies tends to be around the fact that there are some level of logistics that are actually involved in actually the transportation support of Genie in a customer environment. So I will not go into the specifics on how much it's going to cost in terms of dollar and cents. We are actually not charging for the leasing of the equipment, nor are we charging for data consumption of the equipment. It's just around the logistics around it.
Yeah. So of course, I think for today's session, to hold today's segment is really to give everyone a very good understanding and generous sensing, what the entire 5G ecosystem is able to do. So of course, for this level of costing related questions, I strongly encourage for anyone that have any further questions or this level of concerns to also reach out to us for a deeper level of exploration, so that you can really understand, because there isn't I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all thing. Definitely that you need to have more conversations to really pinpoint to that level of costing that is involved for each business owner, right? All right. Moving on, something interesting here by Marku is that how independent solution and technology providers, how can they best partner with Singtel Group in implementation of 5G solutions and applications? I think this was actually brought up during the presentation earlier, but perhaps Connie, you can go into a little bit more detail as to some examples, how can they best partner and roughly what the timeline is going to be.
Right, so we have a 5G ecosystem. which actually Mark is driving, right? And we are actually making accessible our 5G MEC platform, to various app developers, solution providers, for you to kind of trial some of your use cases, for you to actually leverage the capabilities, of 5G MEC to develop various, applications, and then to try and deploy them seamlessly at the 5G age. So I would say let's start off with a partnership first. Maybe start off with some trials. I also want to share that IMDA actually has a fund, has a grant for 5G, which involves, bring players together. We kind of build a consortium together consisting of a solution provider and then with a telco operator and maybe a customer. And then we can actually, do a joint application and apply for this tranche of funding. So that is another channel. Mark, would you want to share more?
Yeah, so I think there are two aspects of it. Where we've actually been engaging our tech partners, not so much our customers. Our tech partners is when they do have some form of MVP, that we can actually test within our facility. Why we actually been focusing on that is because we do have a lot of programs in place where our customers are actually looking to actually solve certain business problems, and we're actually matching that. So case in point, we do have a large implementation that's deployed specifically for trials with the government currently. So as we try to match both the demand side, in this case, the government agencies, to the supply side, usually there is actually a need to actually move relatively quickly. So MVP is usually a best stage at where we are, in terms of engagement with our tech partners. But obviously, we do welcome other folks who are at the various stages. We definitely would love to actually help with the incubation. We are actually working very, very closely with, I think Connie did mention about IMDA, where IMDA did recently provide a $30 million grant for applications running over 5G. But not only that, we're actually working with, example, IMDA, to actually, work together with them to partner with them on their accreditation and their Spark program, where, tech partners will be actually onboarded into this program, both Singtel's program jointly with IMD accreditation and Spark program, where at the same time, right, you'll be actually cleared in the green lane to be able to participate in government tenders.
Thank you, Mark. All right, I think I'm a little bit mindful of time. Perhaps I will just answer one last question before we wrap things up. There's this question by Ryan. I suppose this is coming in from the angle trying to see, whether they already have existing hardware or capabilities to be developed with 5G solutions. So the question is that, is there any preferred 5G hardware, example, antenna, single board computers that Singtel network work well with? And if there are any specific brands or hardware models that would be helpful?
Very specific technical questions, Mark.
I think we probably need to take this offline. Currently, a lot of focus right now is on CPEs and actually mobile devices. As it is, right, there's actually quite a limited number of devices that are able to support 5G in its true native form. When I say true native form, meaning the spectrum that I was referring to, because in a lot of parts of the world, when people talk about 5G, it could be actually a refarming of existing 4G technology. Example, in Singapore's case, is 2.1 gigahertz, which is not the actual spectrum that has been designated. It's actually 3.5 gigahertz. Secondly, it's also the need to be able to support the standalone core. A lot of technologies right now are actually supporting on NSA, which is a non-standalone core, which is basically a 4G core that's being leveraged to actually support 5G. So even in the mass consumer hits, market handsets, right? A lot of them are still supporting not the variants that we're actually looking at, which is basically a 3.5 gigahertz standalone core technology. So I think this one is probably better to actually take it offline, because as we're actually speaking, there is some limitation on the number of devices that we're actually seeing currently.
Thank you, Mark. All right, so I think it's time to wrap things up a little bit, and perhaps I just answer one last question to Transcend from ARTC. Of course, if there's an industry application that you'd like to develop with Singtel, do reach out to us after this event. We'll be providing a set of contact details in the post-event mail that we'll be sending out after this. So this same apply to all the other attendees that are with us today. If there are more questions, anything, feel free to reach out to us and we can continue the conversation from that. All right. So thank you, Connie and team, for the great sharing today. I hope everyone here has benefited from the session and looking towards 5G enabled society. And of course, our work at SGInnovate is to be able to connect startups, corporate partners to facilitate deep tech innovations. And of course, as mentioned, if you are looking to explore more opportunities with 5G, do contact us. And I would just like to take the opportunity to just release a poll as well, to just have a very general understanding of the level of interest that we have generated with today's session. So feel free to indicate them. We'll try to reach out, come back to you as well. All right. So while you guys are actually indicating your interest through the post, I would just like to say once again, do keep a lookout for our post-event mail, which will contain a recording of this session. And I can't emphasize this more again. Do reach out to us at events@sginnovate.com, or as well as the contact details that we'll be providing to be in touch with Singtel FIC. We do also remember to give us your post-event feedback when you exit webinar or choose the post-event mail as well. And with that, signing out from this webinar, I hope that everyone have a great day ahead. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hope to have you again with our next webinar session. Thank you, everyone. And
thank you, everyone. Thank you.